Good morning, Morgan. Oh, we're recording. We just have, we've really only got 2 weeks left, which is 5 classes. So, I mean, it's awesome. I love how it shuts down, does this. Good morning, Post. Morning, Morton. Oh, wow. And a little bit early. I finally got all of those dadgum character analysis graded, and I'm just like, I saved the last essay for last. It was 2,303 words on a 500-word minimum paper. 7.5 pages. I showed it to my son last night, and he was like, "What is she doing, Mama?" My facilitator warned me, said, that's way too much. We're not looking for graduate level links, And I had to write some 20-page papers, and that's not easy, let me tell you. So I'm going to hang on just a second because we've actually got a couple more minutes before it's time. So. Now I sent my facilitator at Cooper 100 pages. That's how many I had finished grading after last Tuesday. Well, pages. I was like, Oh, but she got to see all of the papers. And we're talking, just to give you an idea, so that you guys already know I write a lot, but I don't think they comprehended that. When that's what I do, because it's an online class, so you don't see handwriting. But it's just one of those. It doesn't matter if it's the first or the last paper. So this is the one that's so long. But you can see better all of the comments on all of the pages. So if you're going to write 7.5, you better write pretty daggum good, because the teacher doesn't like that. I mean, it's just like, so be careful. And I think some of what she was writing for the teacher. When you want to impress the teacher with how insightful you are, and that creates a problem. So I let my son read it. The last page, just because. I just want to be careful in conclusion what you say. Here's the last page. It basically says, for the mask the knight wears upon his face contains cracks that now bear the tides of damage that come along with losing one's true identity amidst AMIDST, archaic, the climb for power within oblivion. So, and I'm like, what does that mean? What does the climb for power within oblivion mean? Honestly, nothing. It has no meaning. It's trying to sound, and so you got to be careful. You have to be very careful about writing for the teacher. So, and hey, I got upset with the people that wrote 4 pages. So you can imagine. But that's what's happening. So we got a lot going on. Not really. All we're really doing right now is finishing up the argumentation paper. We're going to go over the sample essay in just a minute, or a couple of minutes. We're also going to talk about the final exam, because I've already got it set up, everything you've got to do on that. You can actually start on part of it. The final exam has 2 sections. There's a reflective discussion board, which is due December 10th, which is a Friday. And there's 3 sections to it, and that's 75 points, and then the final essay is worth 100. So, that's, when it comes down to it, that's almost 20% of your grade. So that's coming up, and we'll talk about that. But I was busily, because we're going to finish early today. You're heartbroken, aren't you? Heartbroken. Everybody's always heartbroken when we're, yeah. Okay, Mrs. Dunn is outside the door. Okay, I know you've got somebody watching you guys at Post, okay. but there's some stuff going on, so I thought, let's just go in and look at the class. So I'm gonna go into week 15. I think I'm in your class. No, not your section. Let me get in your section. Makes more sense. Here, I want you guys to see what I have to scroll down through to get to this semester. This is next semester. All of that up there is next semester. So I'm finally down to this semester. Here's our class. And so when we go into course content, we get to scroll down to week 14, because week 13 was basically non-existent, okay? And we've got a weekly checklist in there. It says, today we're going to talk about quoting and paraphrasing review, which means we're going to go over the sample argumentation essay that I sent to the facilitators, and that's where you can see the quoting and paraphrasing. We'll talk about it with that. You have a draft due tomorrow night, of your argumentative essay, and it's due by midnight, and you must have a works cited on it to get full credit. So, because I'm being sticky about that, that's worth 25 points, and peer revision will be worth 25 points, so you're actually getting an extra 25 points for doing 2 things this week, okay? So that you're gonna turn in the draft, will be turned in to Turnitin, which is that plagiarism checker, okay? And, to be honest, it says you have to have a works cited with it to get full credit. You gotta have a draft. You know, they came in late. I'm hoping they didn't have the baby. He's got that baby due, so that could quite possibly have happened, so. And then you've got peer revision comments on the argument draft. So I made the draft worth 25. Normally, I split the draft and the peer revision comments. I made them both worth 25 to give you 25 extra points to help out if somebody needs it. But you got to do it, okay? And it's the peer revision comments are just like they normally are. Tell me the 2 individuals who read over your essay and what you thought of their comments. You must have 2 reviewers of your essay to get full credit, and you may write this in the submission box or in the comments box. Just trying to help out there. So that's this week. Then next week, and of course in week 15, I've got it set up. I actually almost have everything done. I was looking to it. All you really have is a reflective discussion board for the final exam, and what you don't have in there yet there's a grammar quiz next Wednesday. It's a little bit of everything. It's a 25-point grammar quiz. So we still got about, I want to say, 325 or so points out there. So if you can kind of figure that in with the number of points you have an idea where you're going to land on your grade, okay? But this is a reflective discussion board for final exam. I'm not asking you don't need to respond to anybody. It's not that kind of a discussion board. I find most of the time in a discussion board like that, everybody just reads what everybody else wrote and then they copy. Or they change the words a little bit. That's what I see. I don't see them as being true discussion boards, but you're going to create a thread that will have 3 sections or 3 paragraphs, however you want to think about it. 1 for each of the essays written this semester, which is narrative, compare and contrast, and then the argumentative/summary. Students must give what the assignment was, what they wrote about, what errors there were in organization, proofreading, runs on whatever, noted by the instructor, and if I complimented you on something, please tell me about that. And the paragraph section should end with what you learned from the assignment as a final comment. So when you go in, I try to always make sure that you have the comments when you need it. So you create your thread, and you're just going to go, my reflection. You just put something on it, doesn't matter. And my suggestion is, up here it gives you the assignment, so you can look at it. But I would go in, very first thing, and go do narrative. And do you see how you have your narrative papers back? So you can write this narrative section already, okay? So whatever the assignment, whatever you wrote about, what you got right, what you got wrong, what you learned from it, okay? Then you're going to go compare and contrast. Oops, got a little crazy with my mouse there. Compare and contrast, okay? And then you can go argumentative/summary. So you can go ahead and write your summary comments, can't you? Because you've gotten it back. So what you're going to be waiting for next week is for me to churn out the argumentative essays really, really fast. It'll be a very long week for me. I probably won't get a lot of sleep because of it. But what I recommend is don't hit submit. What I'd like you to do is click Save Draft down here, okay? And so what that does is, when you save draft, you can go back and add. So you can come in and say, oh, okay, I've already done narrative, and I've done everything except argumentative, I got it. All you have to do is go back in and click on My Reflection Draft, and you're gonna see it says draft, and you click on edit, and it opens it back up. If you run into an issue, finding it, if you were to say go in and you don't see it, one of your options up, where'd it go? Okay, let me go back, sorry, let me hit cancel. Yeah. One of the options you have, I'm gonna come back in here. One of the options you have when you go in should be viewing. There should be a menu over here that says show. If you can't find it, if it doesn't see, mine shows, but because I've already clicked, right up in here, should be something that says show all. If you can't find your draft when you do that, go look for a message up here, or a box like these. It goes across, expand all, collapse all, message actions. You know, there should be one over here that says viewing, and you click on show all, and that way you'll see your draft, okay? So that's what's due on December the 10th, and probably I will know if I'm getting your papers back to you in a timely manner. So I should get yours back to you on Friday time, and I know it's basketball. I get it, okay? So I'll try to get them back as fast as I can, but realize that the first class I have to get done is that 9 a.m. class, and that's got 27, 28 people in it, okay? So with them, I have to be a lot more, I have to get through theirs because I have a lot to get through. But they tend to be good writers, so that's helpful. If I could find one pencil that worked out of the 4 I pulled out, 5 I pulled out, it would help, okay. All right, so that's coming up, so you'll fill that out. We're talking about the final exam, actually. Okay, and so then we can go back. You'll do that. Again, you can get that done when you're sitting down. If you get the argumentation essay finished this week and you don't have any questions for me, you can go ahead and submit it, okay? You don't have to wait until Monday night the 6th to submit it, okay? You can do it early and help me out. So when you go into week 16 now, you're going to see the final exam is available, actually already. And it tells you it's due by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, December 15th. You guys have a little bit more time to do your final exam. That 9 a.m. class, theirs is due by 10 a.m. on Monday morning, so, you know, I've got to do that. But basically it says you're going to write a reflective essay that requires you to look back on this semester and see how you have possibly evolved as a writer. Hopefully you have, okay? So how were you as a writer when you began? You can look at the assignments and see if they affected you. So really by doing that discussion board, you're doing the research to write this final exam, okay? That's what it's doing. That's the whole point of it. It's a metacognitive activity. And it's the big push in education, is to get you to think about what you've done, okay? And really, what's the most important lesson you gained out of this? And it's surprising how often it's the same lesson for most kids, okay? You can have I in it, but no just and no you. I really hate the word just. I got 2 just in one of my essays from that big class. So it should contain at least 3 paragraphs consisting of an introduction with a thesis, body, and conclusion. It should be formatted to MLA, which means you've got double spacing, correct heading, and indentation of paragraphs. And it should be no more than 2 pages in length. And if it's only 1, you probably haven't written enough. I'll just tell you, we're looking at 1.5 probably to get it done. You got to have an introduction, you got to have a body. You have to have some meat in the body, something worthwhile saying, and then you just submit it. And this is not going to be submitted through Turnitin. It'll be submitted, it's a plain old assignment, because nobody's going to turn in somebody else's final exam. Except I will admit that once in the past, I had a student who plagiarized their final exam. They went and found somebody's Facebook page and found something they wrote about writing, and I was like, why would you do that? Because it showed up. You know, I thought, this person's never written their entire life, so, okay? So that's what's going on for for the next 2 weeks. But the week 15, if you missed any of the chapter quizzes, if you missed any of the grammar quizzes, they will open up to be made up. They'll be open all week. But like, all I've managed to do so far is just one section, and I can see that I only have to open up grammar quizzes 1, 2, 3, and, no, I only have to open up chapter 6, 7, and 16, grammar quiz 2 and grammar quiz 3. But I'm gonna tell you, grammar quiz 4, which is on Wednesday, if you don't take it on Wednesday, you don't get to make it up. That's just how it is.
All right, and what chapter is that?
That grammar quiz 4 is it's just a quiz over the previous 3.
Oh.
Comma, spices, fusion, run-on, apostrophes, and subject, verb, pronoun, antecedent agreement. So it's the same basic one. Okay, so that's what's coming up. So let's talk and I will go through, and I will put up there will be an announcement that tells you that grammar quiz 1 is in week 3. That's where you have to go to find the quizzes. I'm not gonna pull those quizzes in and put them in a new week. I can't that's too much extra work. I'll just tell you where the quizzes are located. And you have to go find them. Okay? It's, because actually I can't access them right now. They all show us that they've been taken. So I can change their due dates in those weeks is what I can do. So, but that's why I've got to kind of keep track of what all I've got to do for every class differently. So let's look at this sample paper. Let me open it up. And it's not a bad paper, and actually, it's a paper that's probably going to help a couple people, because it's about violent video games. And I didn't realize, I thought that's got 3 or 4 people writing about that, and that's kind of one of those that slipped past me, okay? So I've got it, and I put it in a PDF so I could write on it. So you're going to see, when you first look at it, let me just back this out a little bit so you can see. Please notice how it's double-spaced. There's no header in it. Don't give me a header. At the end of the semester, if I get a header, that's not going to be like 5 points off, people. It's a heading. There's a difference, okay? So pay attention. You're going to see, I had somebody who centered both sides justified on something over this past weekend. You're going to see it's all in there, it's nice and pretty, and then on a separate page by itself is the works cited, okay? Yeah, so it's got to have that. So this particular essay is 2.5 pages long, plus the works cited, it's on the back. The works cited doesn't count as part of the word count. Okay, so let me blow this back up now and we'll go over it. Oh, I knew it was going to take longer. Okay, so any student, obviously it's your name, my name, English 1301, you guys are 442 at the high schools, you guys are 201, is that right?
Yes, 2.
Okay. They switch, they're 200 and 202 next semester, so that's kind of confusing. All right, notice the title, I'm going to make it even bigger, sorry. The title is Video Games Do Not Cause Violent Behavior. Don't give me a question. That is not a title. That's you being too lazy. You have to take the stand. You have to show your stand on the issue in the title.
I was about to say, me and the title looks like it takes the standpoint that video games don't pick up.
That's what it's saying. Video games do not cause violent behavior.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying it is.
No, this is a good title. It's what it's about.
Okay.
I've graded this paper in the past and also gone over it today, so, yeah. So, okay, so let me make it a little bit smaller, because you should have a copy in your hand. So, at this point, it's American tradition to blame media for acts of violence and bad behavior. Americans blame novels, television, and rock music for violent behavior. And now the new scapegoat is video games. An understanding of the rating system that games go through, the effect other people can have while playing a game, and the personality of the individual are all important factors that prove that video games do not create violent behavior. So, this is a thesis statement where you have what's going to be evaluated, supporting points are listed first. So your A point, my bad, gotta hit the pen. Okay. Your A point is right here, the understanding of the rating system, the effect other people have on the game. Interesting point, not one I expected. And the personality of the individual are all important factors that prove, okay, so there's the 3 areas. And it's proving that video games do not create violent behavior. All right, so we go back and we now we're going to look at the second paragraph, and it says the rating of a video game is a critical factor. But that was the first point, so there it is. I got that right. And one of the things I've noticed and I'm gonna say on the rough outlines, or how many of you didn't have a one-sentence thesis that says the death penalty should be abolished or is ineffective because it is blah, 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 blah. You would say, in my opinion, the death penalty is ineffective. And then you'd give me 3 sentences after it. It's supposed to be one sentence. One sentence is the thesis with everything in it, okay? That's all I'm asking for. And, the other thing is I saw a lot of first person, so avoid that. So be sure and go back and look at, you got a 25 if you turned one in. If you turned one in. Okay? You got the 25, but I still made comments if there were issues, except for, like, Morgan, because she brought it to class, so. And all you have to do is type yours up, basically, for tomorrow, don't you? I mean, to get it turned in, so you're ahead of the game. All right, similar to the rating systems for television shows and movies, the rating system for video games shows the recommended age of the player. Well, there are many rating systems across the world. The one used in the United States is the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB for short. Okay, that tells me from now on this person can use ESRB instead of writing Entertainment Software Rating Board every time, because that gets boring. I don't want to have to read those words where I can always go back and look at it. But traditionally that's what you do. If you're going to use an acronym, the first time you give the full name, and then after that they could have just put ESRB in parentheses right after it. And they could have left out or ESRB for short, okay? The ERSB was created in 1994 due to the growing concern of violence and profanity in video games. And I'm trying to think, when did Grand Theft Auto first come out? Because that's the game that really was so bad. Still is. The one where you run down prostitutes in your car, right? Yeah, and you get points for it. Right, okay. The rating SRB can draw many parallels to the MPAA, which is the Motion Picture Association of America, which is the rating system used for movies. The M rating used by the ESRB is similar to the R rating used by the MPAA. This aspect shows that M-rated games are not recommended for children in the same way that R-rated movies are not recommended for children. Game stores do not allow children under the age of 17 to purchase M-rated games. So how do children gain access to M-rated games? I've told you guys, I don't like questions. I might have said, I might have gone with, but children still gain access to M-rated games. The answer, how they get this is because of a form of parental neglect. Parents they will take their kids to see movies that are so inappropriate. I'm just like, I'm getting old, I guess. I just think, 4-year-olds don't need to be watching some of the things you're taking them to see in movies.
Out of curiosity, doesn't this still apply to what you once said, is if we ask a question? You gotta answer it, yeah. And I didn't count off that much, but I prefer that you not ask questions. Okay. As stated by Eric Kane in his article, violent video games do not cause violence. Okay, so we've got our first quote. And here's the author, right there. And it tells you his article, and we've got the title. And you're going to see that it is done correctly. There's quotation marks. You don't italicize titles. I would have students write about poems, and they would have their title would be correct. It showed the poem in quotation marks, but they would italicize it in their paper. And I'm like, why would they switch? Not paying attention, I guess. Okay, so when I see a quote, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and go to the works cited now. So I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to look for K-A-I-N. And look, the very first one on here is Eric Kane, violent video games do not cause violence. And I see it's from Opposing Viewpoints. There's the address. I'm going to scroll down and look. And I'm going to check, since I'm on that page, and I see Kane, K-start K-O and V. So this is in alphabetical order. It's supposed to be in alphabetical order. The first two sources are from Opposing Viewpoints. That's all you got to have to be able to earn the A. They have this individual has another source that's not from the databases, and that's okay, because 2 out of 3 are. That's all you got to have. So I'll go back up now to that quote. So I scroll up, sorry. You guys can flip pages. I can't quite do that. Okay. Parents, and so we've got the quote, parents should think deliberately about purchasing these games for their kids. Better still, they should be involved in the games their kids play as much as possible, so that they can know firsthand whether the actions and images they're allowing their children to consume are appropriate or not. The quote ends, and we have the author's last name and parenthetical reference, and then the period to end the sentence is after parenthetical reference, because it's always part of the sentence, and at the end of the sentence when you have a quote.
So, notice, so when you're writing a paper, don't put it after the quote if your quote's in the middle of the paper, in the middle of the sentence. It always goes at the end of the sentence. So, that's why we're looking at a sample paper, because it shows how to do it, okay, correctly. All right, overall, the rating of a game plays a crucial role in the type of content that is presented in a game, and parents have to pay attention to that rating. So, what this writer did was sneak in kind of a sub-point underneath the ratings of a game about parental neglect, okay? That's kind of cool. All right, so now we go to the third paragraph, second point. Other people can have a drastic effect on an individual while playing a game. So, I don't play multi-person, okay. I do play a multi-person game. I'm gonna tell you, I play Hogwarts Mystery. I'm in year 7, and I just wanna get the damn thing done, you know? I'm head girl, you know. Everybody's head person when you get to that year, if you do the activities to get it. I just wanna get it over with. We gotta find out if Marula's really a good girl or a bad girl, okay? That's a friend, okay. But we're not talking. Whereas if you play Halo, you play Call of Duty, you know, you get that interactive talking, and I've listened to my son play, and you can hear all those 13, 12, 11-year-old boys cussing, trying to sound like they're men playing Halo, right? Yeah, okay. So it's the other people you're playing with is what this point is about. But it is B. Violent games can first be introduced to an individual through another person. I'm going to make this bigger, okay? The type of reaction to violent video games can be influenced by other people's reactions as well. In Friendly Fire, Longitudinal Effects of Exposure to Violent Video Games on Aggressive Behavior in Adolescent Friendship Dyads, that sounds like very much like a study, research that was done. I'm just going to say, though, you know, if you think about when you've been with your friends and somebody says, you start doing stupid things and they're dumb and they're violent, that happens. Cool, right? Yeah, so. I had an incident with my kitten this weekend. I scared him. And so I was looking at my hand, it looks like somebody attacked me with something, I'm not sure. Anyway, so I'm gonna go look at this one. This is. Maybe a skeleton? Yeah, really. I'm gonna go down and look at that one, but I'm gonna see if I go to the end of it. The author states, we emphasize that players play a role in enhancing the effects of exposure to violent video games, in particular for adolescents. And that, I've lost the word, the social context in which games are played is an important avenue for future research. And I can see here's the author listed, Verheyen et al. So that tells me that when I go to the works cited, I should find this after Kane, and it should have Verheyen and et al. So I'm going to scroll down there, make sure it's there. And you have to remember, if you have more than a single author and it's said et al, you have to reference, you have to go last name, that's always last name that's given first, and you just put Verheyen and then space et al and close it. I don't really need page numbers because I'm not going to go look at your documents. I'm not going to. I used to make students turn everything in hard copy when I graded research essays. Yeah, I don't have time for that. I got too many papers to grade. So you can't. That's why you have to say the authors. You have to make sure that you get that right. We found out on the summary some of you missed out on that. You would only give me the first author's name, forgetting that there were multiple authors listed. And you have to list. It's only when you get over 3 that you can do et al. Well, if you have 2 to 3 authors, you have to have first author's last name, first name, comma, then the second author, but you do it regular order, and the third comma, and then the third author regular order.
What is with the et al?
That just means a bunch of others, so you don't have to take up all that space. Because the only one we really care about is the alphabetizing one, which is the first one. Because remember, when you graduate by last names, not first names. So I go back up here, back up to that article. I'll find it, there it is, okay, right here. Because see how we've got him. This essentially means that others' involvement, and see how we didn't end the paragraph with the quote. We're going to explain this quote. That's a way to make your papers longer. Don't expect the quote to do your work. You should make sure that particularly if the quote doesn't directly use the terms in your thesis, you need to explain it and show the connection to the thesis. Don't expect the reader to infer that information. I had to do a lot of inferring, which means I didn't do it on those character analysis. This essentially means that others' involvement is what creates aggressive behavior and not video games. The authors back up this claim by stating, at the same time, no support was found for a direct act or effect of violent gaming on aggression. And so there's that again. Overall, the evidence above shows that peers are much more direct in creating violence than the game itself. So that's a good paragraph. Now we come down to the third one. And notice how the works cited was not arranged in the order in which they're quoted. It's always in alphabetical order. Because the more sources you have, the more confusing it is to figure out where a source is. That means I have to keep track of what paragraph things were in, because people will literally give me the quotes in the order, on works cited, they'll give me the quotes in the order in which they're given. The point is, if you quote from an author more than once, you don't have to put them on the works cited more than once. If you're quoting from Kane multiple times, and from that same article, that one serves for all of the quotes. We'll run into this next semester when we write about Hamlet. Kids will put Hamlet down and then they'll put the quote, they'll get it all messed up. If you quote from the same source more than once, that one source on a works cited serves for all of the quotes.
Hamlet.
Yep, doing Hamlet. Okay. All right, the most important factor to view is the personality of the individual playing the game. So that is C. We're right on target. Make sure that the topic sentence clearly connects to the thesis, to that point in the thesis. An individual's personality before and after playing a game, and this is subject-verb agreement. Personality is the subject, and personality is, singular. So it's got to be is. That's SV agreement. And that's the only error I'm going to point out in here, okay? Is very important, are very important variables to weigh. While there has been extensive testing done on this subject, all of these old experiments fall flat in one way or another. An example of this is that scientists conduct experiments that do not accurately reflect real-world scenarios. And I'm going to tell you something right now. The word scientist is so hard for students to realize that if you're talking about more than one, you've got to put an S on the end. Because when we say scientist, you don't really hear that. Yeah, that's what students hear. We leave off a lot of times when we say it, we leave off that scientist. To make it plural, you have to put an S after it. So be careful of that. It's one of those errors that I see, one of the odd ones, and it's because we dropped that last consonant, so we think it's plural. All right, an example of this is when scientists conduct experiments that do not accurately reflect real-world scenarios. Cheryl K. Olson finds that experimental settings are not only artificial, but turn gameplay into game work. And notice that there's no parenthetical reference. It doesn't have to be in there because the author of the article is mentioned in it helps to integrate the quote into the sentence. I can go down here, and I'm going to see Cheryl K. Olson right there. Okay? So you don't have to have parenthetical reference if you have the author's name in the sentence where the quote occurs. Let's see. There we go. She finds that experimental settings are not only artificial, but turn gameplay into game work. That's an interesting statement, because when you're studying somebody and it's not like they're just sitting down and playing a game. The statement shows that the majority of older studies are flawed based on how they ran their experimentation. It should be experiment. It shouldn't be in there. That's all off, okay? Studies that actually have concrete data have shown that aggressive people are drawn to aggressive games. Makes sense, doesn't it? I don't like aggressive games. Olson states, aggressive children may seek out violent games, and violent games may reinforce aggressive behavior. That's not the same thing as causing it. There's a difference. And because we're still quoting from Olson, it's okay. And we've got Olson in there. It has also been shown that crime rates have reduced in the past 20 years as the number of video games have greatly increased in that time. Now, Cain, and I remember Cain because Cain was quoted earlier, and you don't have, we certainly wouldn't say only his first name. Never refer to anybody by their first name only. I'm just telling you. Give first and last names or last name. Cain backs this argument by stating a working paper from Economist on violence and video game sales published in 2011 found that higher rates of violent video game sales, in fact, correlated with the decrease in crimes, especially violent crimes. And I can go back down, I'll see Cain's there. So you're going to see that we've now got 4 or 5 quotes out of 3 sources, don't we?
Yep.
But it's not, I don't feel like, notice that the individual has not quoted huge blocks of text. It's been realistic, what's been quoted, and it's not interfering. There's still a lot of the author in this essay. And once again, we are explaining the quote. The evidence listed above shows that aggressive people enjoy violent games as a way to release aggression. The information proves that video games were not to blame and actually improved behavior. So now we're down to the conclusion. There is no concrete data that explicitly states that video games create increased aggression. Rating for games are in place to ensure that the consumer can personally consider violence within a game. Peers have a more direct effect on aggression than video games do. Aggressive people are naturally drawn to violent video games as a way to release aggression. All of these factors show that video games do not negatively affect behavior. They are simply the scapegoat to blame bigger problems on. It's a pretty good paper. Okay? And you see it's not overwhelmingly long. That's what I like about it, okay? So, it's lacking the counter argument. If you can't find, because there's somebody, somebody's arguing about children's behavior being worse. Yeah, and there's really nothing that says, oh no, children's behavior is better. That's not out there. It's just not out there. So all Morgan can really do is say there really not much studies have been done proving that nothing's out there saying that children's behavior is better. And this could be due to the fact that we're just hearing more about that, I mean, it's just not out there. There's no source of saying, oh, kids are behaving well. Because they're not. So she can say there's really no counter argument because what we're seeing is that a lot of children are acting aggressively. So, okay. So that's all I've got for today. Okay. So if you didn't get your rough outline in, you can get it in. It'll be late. You'll lose some points, but at least you can still get credit. Okay. But please, you have a draft due by midnight tomorrow. We'll do peer revision of 2 documents on Wednesday. You don't have to have your comments in on the peer revision until Friday. It's being nice. Because some people can't seem to go home and do it the same day, And you're not the only one, okay? But every time, remember, this peer revision is worth 25 points, as is the draft of your paper. Now, I'm not going to go through, because it's been mostly pointless that I've noticed. I'm not going to go through and look at your entire paper. I'm going to see if you've got a paper with body paragraphs on it. I'm going to look at your works cited. That's all I can do. I've actually have scraped my hand raw from grading by hand all those 94 essays. So, yeah. That's right. Paper's rough when you're writing as much as I write, and I showed you how much I wrote. So. Yeah. Then I can't hold the pencil. So work on your stuff and be prepared. Once again, the paper's not due until Monday night, Monday the 6th by midnight. The whole issue is, if you don't care about it, if you don't have any questions, you can turn it in anytime after Wednesday. Don't turn it in before Wednesday. That would not be smart. Actually, you don't have anywhere to turn it in yet, I don't think. Let me go see. I might have put it in. I can't even remember. Isn't that crazy? The one reason I haven't put it in is because I had people who I accidentally put a wrong day on the peer revision comments, and I had people trying to do that out of one of the other sections. Yeah, you don't have any place to turn in your final paper yet. I'll put it in while you guys are doing peer revision on Wednesday, I'll put it in. Okay, but again, so you can see, this is this week, turn in draft by midnight tomorrow night, and peer revision comments on argumented draft. That's not due until Friday. And it says it. Oh, it says peer revision, doesn't tell it when it's due. Let me add that in there. So if you're playing basketball, don't postpone getting those comments in. Say, oh, I'll do it Friday, and then you're at a basketball game and you don't get home until gosh knows when from wherever you're at, whatever tournament you're playing in, okay? There we go. Now that's in there. It says 12:3. Okay, so you're welcome to work. Let me see if anybody sent me any messages. Nope, I haven't missed any. I'm going to get the other stuff set up for you guys too. So I need to be in week 15. Yeah, I can't lose this piece of paper. It's got valuable information on it. Huh? Well, it has when the final exams are. But I've already done, the final exams are already put in. At least I've done that much. Week 15. Yeah, I've got to add the weekly checklist too. Okay. Assessment.
So, on final exam week, if we have our final exam.
You don't have to come. Yeah, that's the nice thing. Yeah, you don't have to come. I will be here, and I'll have to get here at 8 a.m. on Monday morning and Wednesday morning.
So how does the,
You only go to final exams on the week of final exams. You don't go to class. So, let me set this up, and I will show you what the final exam schedule looks like, okay?
because I don't know if we're supposed to come in here for testing or.
No. What you do is, you can, because you turn in your paper online. So, that's what you do. Now, y'all's is due by Wednesday at 10 a.m. If I don't have it at 10 a.m., I won't grade it. It'll be a 0. That's just how it is. It's a final exam. Because I'm allowing you to turn it in from home. So, yeah, I'm just upfront about that, okay?
And on,
I'm sorry?
Which Wednesday?
Wednesday, December 15th.
Thank you.
Yeah, the week of final exams, so. All right, so,
December 15th. Wow, that's not that far away.
no, it isn't.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, 12/8. Yep, the right date here. I'm setting up that grammar quiz for the 8th. The little bit of everything. Okay. I've never heard of quizzers, but I just created that word apparently.
Quizzes and,
Quizzers. Okay. Okay, so when you go into week 15, you're gonna see weekly checklist, and it tells you to get a receipt. Remember, you'll be turning it in through Turnitin, so make sure you get a receipt. And it says make up any missed chapter quizzes and grammar quizzes this week. So now I need to go in and see what all ones I have to open up for you guys. See if that helps. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Stop and think what day it is.
Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes. Your conference is now over. Goodbye.
So, just to be clear, I have everything outlined, I'm just trying to format it.
Okay.
That's my.
Well, if you just say opening statement, you don't have to have it look like it did on that page. I had people basically turn in a draft that looked, where they gave me that and the sections. Okay, so don't hang up on formatting. If you've got, let me look at it real quick,
Well,
okay?
let me rephrase. I'm trying to fill in what I have, as in like how to phrase everything.
Oh, okay, well, you do have to do the writing, okay?
That I'm currently working on,
Okay.
because I got 6 articles for this.
But just give me a little bit of the article title. You don't have to give me the information from the article, okay? That's in the details, all right?
I'm sorry, I'm very bad at formatting still. I'm better, right? Just
Mhm.
that's the formatting. How was your Thanksgiving? You have to
Okay. Graded, I spent a lot of time grading, okay.